Well, you sound fine to me, but then you have been sounding fine to me. It's just
Yeah.
everybody else. Um,
So that was my introduction to tarot. This
we
deck that I was given,
Conrad,
and yes,
we are good apparently. Putting these in, we are good.
you see, and I thought it was me the whole time, Simon. You're making me. I thought it was
It's
something
never
wrong on
happened.
my side, although it was in the
All
beginning.
right.
Yeah, it was.
So welcome to the Hermit's Cave, everybody.
Thank you, Simon. I feel great. I feel honored to be here. Can we start again?
We certainly can. Yeah. Okay. So for those, I don't know how bad your echo was because I could hear you crystal clear. But
Yes.
do you want to just recap and just what I'd asked was, I'd asked Conrad just to tell us a little bit about himself because we would know him as Conrad Steyn, the tarot creator behind the CS Tarot, um, behind Pam's old deck, behind Hermit's Hybrid, behind the 1JJ Vintage. Um, so many decks, so many decks. But we'd like to get to know a little bit about you. So if you want to
I'll say it
recap.
again, but I'll give you guys the 30-second version. So you don't have those of you who, I don't want to bore all of you with my nonsense. Born in South Africa, Cape Town, went to Johannesburg for primary school, went to East London for high school, went to Port Elizabeth for university, did 2 degrees in psychology. Oh, I actually did miss a little gap. From there, I worked for a church for a year. And my
Okay.
function was to start up a shelter for street kids. It was actually a position that I'd created, and that was like my gap year. And after that, in 2000, went to Houston, Texas, and I was there for 8 years ish, and then came back, and that's where we are now. What was
Brilliant.
your other question, Simon?
So then I asked how you discovered tarot. How did tarot come into your life?
I feel stupid saying it twice. So
They
tarot
didn't
came
hear
into
you.
my life when my father gave me a deck of tarot cards. It was the one JJ Swiss. He'd gone overseas on business. I think he was in France or Italy or somewhere on business. And I'm convinced that he just thought it was a deck of cards. He didn't know that it was tarot or it was anything to it. And gave it to me. And when I handled the cards, I just didn't. I got a bad vibe from it. And I think it's because we came from a very strong Christian home, and that was like the ethos that I grew out of. And I
Mm,
just felt I was scared by cards like devil and death, I think. And I tossed it. I
yeah.
threw it away. Retrospect, I wish I hadn't. And I've gone onto eBay, and I remember what that box looked like. It was almost like a canvas. I think what's this guy's name now? Robert M. Place. He's
Oh
doing
yeah.
these very nice sort of canvassy boxes. I remember it was like a red box like that, and just
Ah,
put the cards in the top. And I've looked on eBay for the same thing, and I haven't. Yes, but it
this
didn't have a
type
sticker
of
on. Yes, but it had no.
right.
There was no marking. It was just a red box, and I've spent forever looking on eBay, and I haven't found that same deck. Anyway, fast forward a couple of years. I had a private practice here in Port Elizabeth. One of my clients came to see me. He was a psychic and a tarot reader and a medium as well, and suggested I get into energy work. And I didn't really know what he was talking about, so I just kind of blew it off. I'm like, yeah, I'll try that. Not really my thing. Following week gives me a deck of cards. He did give me some basics. He explained some of the core concepts of what the cards were, and I just felt when I got that deck that I just felt it was something. I just like it wasn't just a deck of cards. uh, I've told people this story before, and I sometimes use the words like I felt like I was activated. I don't know if that's the I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, and it's very hard for
Yeah.
me to explain. But I just felt like something switched on, and yeah, I have been using this deck ever since. So that was my introduction.
Brilliant. And there's lots of people commenting on your setup in your room there. And it is an
Yes.
impressive setup. I mean, I'm fortunate because you've shown me this on Glide and
Yeah,
things
yeah.
before, but um how how long has it taken you to get a deck collection like that?
Not that long. I only
Usually,
started collecting a couple of years ago. I was very anti the idea of having many tarot decks, and I struggled with new decks. I've stuck to this, my Roses and Lilies. I've stuck with that, and every time I would see a new deck, it just wouldn't interest me. And I think it was, I forget her name. I think the name was Sacred Seed was her channel. I've heard a lot of people speak about her.
L. Yeah.
L.
Yeah.
And when I saw her collection, I was like, what? Like, this is a thing. People actually, I want to show you this, but I'm scared it's going to fall. Can you give me a second to pull this over here?
Absolutely. Yeah.
This used to be my tarot shelf. that was my tarot shelf, all my decks.
And # tarot shelf right there.
Yes, and then now I have a tarot wall. I don't think I have as many decks as people think I do. I just think they're displayed nicely. I was watching a video, Elemental Cartomancy. What's his name? Chris.
Chris is here in the chat. Yeah.
Is it?
Chris.
Hi, Chris. And this was a couple of weeks ago, and he was showing his tarot collection. And I was thinking to myself, I probably have a similar amount of cards to what he has. The only difference is mine is sort of displayed nicely.
Yeah.
And the rest of it's like, there's my bookshelf. I don't know if I go beyond the decks carry on.
Yeah.
But I don't want to show you what's on the floor on that side because there's a whole bunch of junk over there. But
So
this is my reading. This is my reading room. That's where I do tarot readings, which I also haven't done in a long time. But that's another.
Haven't you?
Ask that question.
I am.
I'll answer that when you get there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'm just going to ask about your, because I know that they're one deep, aren't they? But facing forward, which is beautiful.
Yes.
Did you have to build the shelves yourself?
I built that whole thing. I'm a very
Okay.
hands-on kind of person, and I actually made when I say YouTube video, I made video segments of me building the whole thing, and I was going to put a YouTube video together of my tarot wall, like from the DNA up to the end product here. And when I went back looking at all the little video clips of myself, I just thought I looked terrible in the video, and I thought like, no one's gonna want to see me build a silly shelf. So I've kind of abandoned it. But yeah.
Do you know how wrong you are in that when you say nobody wants to see?
Well, you haven't seen the clips yet, so you haven't seen them. They weren't very, like, I was sweating and it wasn't great, you know.
That doesn't matter. Do you know what? One of my most popular videos is the one where I did a decluttering, and I was pouring with sweat, and there was dust everywhere, and everybody loves that. I love that. I'd love to see you putting shelves up and arranging your decks and going through them. And I did a hashtag you'll probably remember a few years ago that kind of ran year on year called Tarot Shelf, hashtag Tarot Shelf. And that's one of my favourite ones I've ever done because I love seeing. There's something about other people's collections, all the comments here as well that are saying, wow, look at, Conrad's display, look how he's got his. We just love to see things like that. So please consider doing it. I'm glad someone is seeing it. That's great. Yeah. So, so we'll go on to that question because you mentioned it. So you are a tarot reader, a professional tarot reader, as well as a deck creator. Is that right? Yes, I would classify myself as being a professional tarot reader in the past. I wouldn't, and when I say professional, I don't mean good. I mean, I did it as my form of income, and I charged people money, and they came to see me. To this day, I still get people calling me for readings. I stopped. There were many, many reasons for stopping. People have unrealistic expectations. People want you to do things that you can't do. Sometimes things come through, Simon. I had a situation where a lady was sitting opposite me. I didn't feel anything. To me, she responded. I think I had an ad on Gumtree. She responded to the ad. She was sitting opposite me. It wasn't here. It was at my previous house. And she says to me, am I able to, her mother's just passed. Am I able to connect with her mom? And I was just about to say,
do you know what a tarot reading is? Like, I don't do that sort of thing. And as I said that, I just felt this like this presence of this other entity. This, I'm not saying her mom was there, but it was an intense feeling for me, and I couldn't handle it. I didn't know how to continue with that situation. And people expect a lot. People want to know, and I feel like you get the same questions. You get, and I call them the big five. Like, when am I going to get married? Should I emigrate to Australia? What's happening with my job? Like, they always ask like the same questions. And I think here in South Africa, there's a tarot reader and a clairvoyant, and like they're all sort of grouped into this one like loose category of fortune telling, and that's just not what I want. And so I moved away from it.
Yeah, and I get that. I think, and I don't know what the culture's like in South Africa, but I certainly get the whole sort of, oh, so you're a medium, if you talk about reading cards, oh, you're psychic, and many tarot readers are either one or both, Do you tend to read tarot for divination, introspection, or a bit of both? How do you approach the tarot?
Tarot for me has always been divination, and that's the one thing that I've learnt from the tarot community. When I say tarot community, I mean like you guys who are watching this, people on YouTube. I've learned that it can be so much more, and it can be different things to different people. But I've always just had this idea that that's what tarot is. It is a form of divination, a system of divination. It is so much more. Like, to me, I'm not going to go into. I don't know if you're going to ask me like what it is to me right now, or what it's meant to me over the past, or what I've learned from it. But that's just the perception that most people have here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what always fascinates me is people who read tarot for divination and use it as a tool of divination.
Yeah.
How do you think tarot works, or do you just trust it and not really think too much about that?
This might seem contradictory. Okay. Another reason why I still do love tarot, but another reason why I moved into doing tarot readings is sometimes when I had my private practice, I would get a specific message for a person. Okay. Someone would come in with something completely arbitrary, completely random, completely unrelated. Okay. A lady would come in and say, she's struggling with this or struggling with that. And while she's speaking to me about one thing, I just get this, and I want to say, yes, your husband is having an affair. You with me? Like, I'll get this I'll get this feeling of exactly what the true reason is for a person coming for therapy. But you can't say that. You can't say that. And I feel with tarot, I could do a spread and almost not hide behind the cards, but I'm like, well, it almost gave me a tool, like a vehicle for me to express something that I felt intuitively. Whereas, does it make sense? So
Yeah,
I almost used tarot as like what's in the cards. It's not me. It's like, well,
they're
it's right
speaking
here
for you. Yeah.
And very, very often there'd be a correlation between what is seen in the cards and what I'm actually feeling. So from having an intellectual understanding of the card specific meanings, there would be there would be harmony between what I'm seeing in the images and what I'm feeling. Like, what I'm feeling is the actual message for the person. And then it's brilliant. You can point to the cards and you can say, well, this means that and that means that, therefore this is this and therefore this is that. So it's definitely been a tool for me in my practice. For me personally, Simon, I know a lot of people like pull a card a day, that kind of thing. I don't, but if I ever do have an issue that I feel like is beyond my own ability to figure out what I should like if it's something that I have no idea as to what to do, then I do like to consult a tarot deck. And 9 times out of 10 in that situation, I will not, when I'm reading for myself, I won't use an RWS deck. I will use any one of the decks that I've purchased, like a new deck to me, and I will literally read what the book says, and I will use that as my system, as a form of guidance. What I also do for divination is as a pendulum a lot, and I don't know if you pendulum or
I do
yes
use
or no.
pendulums. Yeah.
Oh, where's my little pad here? Simon, if you saw what my desk looked like now, you would be shocked. I've just got all these decks, out.
I'm not turning. Good job you can't see everything that's
So
kind of
I
off
made like
camera.
this. I made this pendulum chart like that, and I would just, pendulum for me, for in terms of for
Let's
some
have a
kind of
close-up
divination,
look.
because I often feel that people want to. Must I show that again?
Yeah, let's have a close-up look at your. Oh, that's fab. Is that on wood? Etched on wood?
That's been laser engraved.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I like to. I have a lot of stuff that's laser engraved. People have often asked me, you've seen my deck before, and it's very
Yes.
worn in and very battered, which was my inspiration behind this one, wherever it is now.
And just to add, this
My
isn't.
inspiration behind this.
This
Go
isn't
ahead.
this isn't a created deck. This is your RWS deck that's you've used. How much did you
That
say?
I've
10,000 times?
Many times, but another reason. So I'm like being very visual and showing you guys pictures here. Like this isn't it, but the table that I used to read on was laser etched, laser engraved, and it had these grooves in it. So that's one of the reasons why this deck of mine looks so completely battered, is because it was sort of going through all those grooves the whole time.
Do you want to just show them again? Now you're on full screen. No, I mean your deck. Your
my deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I took you off it that bit. Look at that. And how many years old is this?
It wasn't new when I got it, and I got it in 2000. I must have got it in about 2010, and it wasn't a new deck. It wasn't messed up like this, but it was already a used deck when I got it. It was given to me as a used deck.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you was also saying that deck that is your used deck, and when you used to have readings with people and you would give them a choice of deck, they always went with that one, didn't they?
Almost always, which is why I created this one. That's the wrong one. I've got so much on display here, Simon. Where is it now? And I called it my dirty Pam, because I felt like this is my version of what a dirty Pam would be. So I wasn't stealing the name Dirty Pam, but it's my dirty Pam. This is how I feel it would be. So this one is like deliberately grungy, graunched, messed up, and yeah. But despite the fact of me having this, I still use this one anyway.
And I got that one.
It is, eh?
It's.
Do you have it in the thick cardstock?
I do. I love thick cardstock.
I struggle with it because the MPC thick. I felt like it's actually getting a few cards. There's a bit of a. I don't even know if the camera will pick this up.
Let's put you on.
It's got a very slight, like a crease in it.
Oh yeah. No, mine hasn't done that.
There it is. So I've actually, I think I've taken it off MPC on the thick and just put it on the normal standard smooth. That's it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. No, mine. This sits on my desk, and I just love it because you can see all the scratches and blemishes, and it's just, even though this is brand new, well, this year. I feel like I'm holding, a deck that's had a lot of use.
Yeah.
It's very, very strange. So obviously, we've heard about your background. We've heard about how you read tarot. We've seen your impressive deck collection behind. You are a deck creator. Am I right in thinking, I'm pretty sure I am, that your first deck was the CS Tarot that you created and made available, was it not?
No, I've made a lot.
Gosh.
That was my first. That was my first out to the public deck.
Right.
This is the first deck I created. Don't laugh, Simon.
Would I?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! Now
This
that's
was the
thick.
first deck I created. It was half tarot. It's like and half oracle. So I've got like oracle. I mean guillotine, the Caduceus, a lot of the Lenormand images. So I know I'm going very quick. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Look at that.
Just like a whole bunch, like whatever I thought was like a cool picture, I'd put on there. So a lot of Lenormand, a lot of this, the Zodiac, like I've got Gemini, Taurus, everything. Then a tarot deck, and I put them together. And this one I would have bones representing wands. What else I got here? But everything organic. The eggs were the discs or pentacles. And then anything to do with air, swords was butterflies.
Oh,
And there's one more. What am I missing? Have I said all four of them?
Cups.
Bones. Oh, cups has got to do with water. So that's anything sort of like ocean
Shells.
themed, like seashells. That was the first deck I created. And obviously you'll recognize the back.
Yes. So, and that's not available anymore.
No, I made it. I made it for myself. I also made a Lenormand's deck. Is this all new to you, Simon?
But
Is this all new?
This deck, that deck looks amazing. Having the combination of a tarot with Lenormand images and oracle images.
Yeah, I made a Lenormand deck. This thing's opposite here.
Yeah, it's always opposite on
like
StreamYard.
Counterintuitive, yeah.
That's cool.
Anyway, so that, and then I made, and then before CS Tarot, I'd actually started. This is the thing. Most of my clients have been female lady clients, and most of them struggle with this size deck of cards. Okay, your standard tarot size. So what I had wanted to do when I originally created CS, I wanted to make a deck that was smaller. So let me just go standard. And this is actually my first sort of rendition of what CS was going to look like. It was just going to be like a vintage RWS. I wasn't sure of the back, and you can see the size difference. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted like a vintagey deck. That was the idea I had in mind. And then I saw this online, Simon. I think it was a video that you had done. These little cards.
Oh, yes.
The vintage Pam.
Yeah,
by
by Arena.
what's it? Riel, hey?
Yeah. Yeah,
Riel,
Real.
I think's the
My
lady's
lucky
name.
card. Yeah.
My lucky cards. And when I saw this, I was like, well, it's already been done. Like, why must I make a deck of cards now? You know, I almost felt like, so I sort of put my own deck projects on the back burner. Then I discovered 7 Stars, who did the
Deck of the Bastard.
waving.
I saw somebody come in, so I waved. So it's
Deck
a
of the
habit.
Bastard. In fact,
Yeah.
and it was that deck, the Deck of the Bastard, where she'd taken some of the RWS images and some of these,
Yes.
put them together. And for the first time, I was like, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could actually take these images. And my first thought was like, are these copyrighted? Like, what's the story? I didn't actually realize you can take something, scan it in, edit it, change it, it becomes your own. I had no idea. So I actually want to credit her, as well as the lady from Vintage Pam, for giving me that idea of not that idea, just it just sort of sparked in me the notion that I can actually do this myself. And then my biggest inspiration, and I don't know if this is going to pick up nicely on the camera, but I'm sure a lot of people know this deck and have this deck. And Simon, if you have it yourself, go have a good look on your shelf, and you will see the background is that crackleback on the image. Can you see that?
Oh yeah, I've got all three sizes in that deck.
I've got the standard size, the little one, and just those two. So when I saw that crackleback as the background image for the tarot deck, that's when like the penny dropped, and I was like, I want to do a deck with different crackleback images, and that's where CS came from. That's the Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, I didn't mean to cut across. But that's I didn't. I mean, I've spoke to you for years, and I didn't even know that about. We've spoken about, Irina, and we've spoken about, Rial and them. But I never knew that about the Tarot of AE8 with the crackleback. But what I wanted to hear about as well is because people hear CS Tarot and assume that that's Coleman Smith, and it's not, is it? And you make that clear, or if you want to make that clear now.
Let me make it clear now.
Sorry, I said that the wrong way around, didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it should be Coleman Smith, and the fact that and I wasn't sure what to call it. I don't want to say RWS, and I don't want to say PCS, and I was sort of playing around with the idea. And when I got CS, I automatically thought, well, CS Lewis works, so maybe CS Tarot will also work. I just got up with CS, and the fact that Pamela Coleman Smith is a CS and I'm also a CS, I was like, that's just a great coincidence. And to be honest, and I think when I first sent you that deck, I said CS is for her and CS is for me. Like, it's also my initials, and I was happy with that. And then I think it was Becca who did a deck review of CS Tarot, and she actually called it the Conrad Steyn Tarot. And that's when I emailed you and I said, okay, let's just scrap the Conrad Steyn. I don't want it to be me. I want it to be hers.
And I've been guilty, and that's one of the reasons why I've written here, just to get it from you, on this interview, because I've called it I've said the CS Tarot for Conrad Steyn Tarot, and then I'm like, oh no, it's Coleman Smith, and even then, I get it the wrong way around. So
yeah. So and then Becca wasn't wrong, because I wasn't clear about it in the beginning, and they are my initials,
Yeah.
So I'm just I don't want to say I have a problem where people name things after themselves. You can do whatever you want to. It's just something that I didn't want to do. I don't want to call, like, my name's Conrad. I don't want to call it the Connie deck, like my grandparents called me Connie. I wanted it to be about her. I didn't want photographs of me and that's the name part of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if there are people watching this who haven't heard of the Conrad, I always said the Conrad Steyn deck, the CS Tarot deck, it's beautiful, and I'm showing the first edition here just because that's the one that's in my hands, because I was just talking about how it started, but it's now in its third edition.
It is in its third edition. What I'm going to do, I think I've told you this. I'm not happy with the third edition, because the way things view on my computer screen and the way things look in real life when you hold them in your paws aren't always the same. So MPC for MPC is like for better or for worse. Sometimes it's right and sometimes it's off. And when I hold that in my hand, it isn't what I had in my mind. What I had wanted was the crackleback. Okay, where's one? Here's one. This is what I'd wanted. I'd wanted the combination of the crackleback and the combination of the blue, because I keep going back to this. You see, that's why I created that crackle with the blue, and that Tudor rose in the middle. But when I'm seeing it now in print form from MPC, it's very yellow, and it didn't look like that on my computer monitor. So what I've actually done, I've created another one which looks like that, and I'll be loading this onto NPC shortly. I'm not going to have first edition, second edition. It's just going to be CS Tarot with different color back options. And if someone wants the amber, if they want the the black back, whatever it is, it'll all just be the third edition. I also have a lot of options on NPC, and that's not me trying to complicate things. That's people emailing me, say, can I please have this in jumbo? Or could I please have this in plastic? Or could I please have this with a photograph of my dog? And like I do the absolute best I can to accommodate people, and that's why there's so many options and different card stocks. Just because it's often asked, and then I try accommodates,
And you are really accommodating. I mean, this is a plastic edition, which is a really beautiful deck. That was the second edition. I have to say, and the third edition is stunning. It is stunning. I've got the third edition, and I've got it in standard size, and I've got it in the smaller size. But I have to say, this little beauty is a very, very special deck, and I'm sure you'll recognise it when I show you. I keep it wrapped in silk, but it is the this special deck that you made for me, and it's kept in this wooden box here. It was the first one you did in the gold, so I had it with the black backs, and you did an extra card that had the Hermit's Cave in Pixie's calligraphy with the YouTube logo and the Roman numeral for 10,000, and that was when I got 10,000 subscribers. But the reason why I really love this deck is because of that, but also you did a Hermit with Simon, and I don't know if I've ever told you, but when I use this deck, this is my significator card, because it's got Simon on it, so it's me, so I can put that in, and I can shuffle the cards, and I can lay them out, and wherever that is, I can look at the cards either side of it. But I know I've kind of thanked you when I've done the video, but having you here, I just want to say how much I love this deck and how much I appreciated you creating that for me and making it really, really special, because, I am somebody that's very lucky because I do get decks sent, but this one, was just the kindest gesture. So thank you for doing that.
Only a pleasure, Simon.
Yeah. Okay, and then there's just so many other. You've also got Marseille decks, haven't you? They're not all RWS.
Yes, decks. I have a lot of decks, and I actually don't know how many I have on, to be honest with you, because I also have like variants of, like I don't even know how many CSs are there. There's the mini. I think I've taken mini off now to go with the pocket. Marseille decks. I haven't. The only one that I've given a specific name is the Arnaud. This isn't on my Tarot Lounge shop. It's on the other one that I have, and I've got this.
That's cool.
I'm not a big Marseille. What's the word? I don't know a lot about Marseille. Like I'll watch someone like Justin Michael, and he speaks, and he's got a deck out now. Hey, the one that you I think it's a handmade one, and you have to order from him directly.
He makes his from scratch, doesn't he? You know, with the whole gluing together. I think Justin's in here, or he was in here earlier. I've seen him pop in, but he.
So I don't know a lot. I'm not a expert on Marseille at all. What else do I have on there? Obviously my version of 1JJ, just because that was just way too bright, Simon. That used to hurt my eyes. So to me, this is just a much better option. And the size difference. In fact, this is the only deck that I've gotten from NPC where I had a printing defect, and I've got many decks from them. Like there was it's almost like someone had sort of like rubbed it off, and I just went in with the magic marker and filled in. I didn't even complain about it because I'm generally quite happy with the quality of what they do.
Yeah, I mean,
and can I give you? That's obviously I'm gonna do this like old school style. Because I know I know when I watch your shows, you always ask like if there's a moderator, can they please put the link in? And then you're like, is there a moderator here? So that's for the place where you'll find CS Tarot and where you'll find the Pam A's and the 1909, which I'm sure we're going to get to now.
We're
then
coming on to that. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get to that. And then this is the other one. Obviously, this side here, it's www.makeplayingcards.com, right? And then /sell and then historic tarot decks. That's the other store where I have things like the Vintage Aquarian, 1JJ, etc., and a couple of other decks. There's actually a lot on there.
Chris is actually putting the links in now, so
fantastic.
Thank you, Chris, for doing that.
Isn't this good enough?
Yeah, well, people watching back can always freeze frame and use that, but that's a direct link. This deck, you've probably heard me mention. This was the 1JJ Swiss was my first ever deck 35 years ago, and when you created this in the vintage style, in full tarot size, I did. It's just perfect. I prefer this than my 1970 version on that beautiful cardstock in the 2-part box. This is just, and it goes in this special pouch. The other side of the special pouch is Pam's old deck. So do you want to talk a little bit about Pam's old deck? Because it's different.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm not a very fancy person when it comes to boxes, hey? Like, I make my own. This is two toothpaste boxes, and I got my mini in here, like the little mini deck. It's a Colgate and a Sensodyne. So that's this one. So this is throat lozenges. That's where I keep my Pam's old, Pam's old deck. What can I say about this?
It's fantastic. That's what you can say. I love this deck.
This was created for me out of I felt like I wasn't happy with the one that was available. The one that was available was the Tarot Vintage, eh? Am I right? I think it's the Scarabaeo's Tarot Vintage. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I actually had that one in my shopping cart, my Amazon shopping cart, and let me go onto my phone and just show you what I wasn't happy with. If I go here and I go here, that back just didn't gel with me. So that's why. So I created Pam's old deck just because I thought, well, I don't like the back on that one. Let me just make my own one. And it was as simple as that.
That's what I love about you and the conversations we have. You'll be like, do you know what, Simon? I've seen that, but actually, I don't like this, and I'm going to do my own version. It's just great. And you are, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way. It's a compliment, but you are the ultimate perfectionist, and you will put something out there and then you'll look at it and you'll think, no, I could still make it better. And I think that's why, the CS Tarot is on its third iteration, or even fourth now with the different back, because you're constantly looking at how you can better things, aren't you? And looking at, it's a constant thing for you that you're always thinking about what you can improve.
You probably wouldn't believe me if I showed you all the variants of CS before I sent you that first deck to sample. I literally have like 30, 40 different variants, different backs. Like it was nonstop. I just like those were my concepts. So yes, I am definitely a perfectionist. And something else, Simon, I've put decks onto MPC, not liked it, and just taken it straight off. Like I have decks that I just don't like. Like, can I show you one here?
Absolutely.
This was called Pam's Prophetic Vision.
Oh yes, you showed me this.
Did I show that to you?
With the circular swirl, yes.
Yeah. what I think it's Doctor Strange, where they got those twirly whirlies in the show, and like the idea I had is as Pamela Coleman Smith is sitting thinking, like she has this sort of vision of how the images are going to look, and so they're slightly they've been made larger than you know what I'm saying, and just
Yeah.
but each card's got that sort of twirly around it, and I like the concept. I love the way it looked on my computer screen. I ordered a copy from MPC and I didn't like it, so I didn't put it on. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Um, we have had a question from Robin
Yeah.
who just says, is the Pam's old deck the same deck as the CS Tarot,
No,
just with the crackle filter removed?
no, no. I'm actually not entirely sure which deck I used for my. Yes, sorry. I'm thinking of another one. Yes, exactly. It is
Okay.
the same. Yeah,
But
and I
it's
didn't
not.
change. I didn't change Pamela Coleman Smith artwork, but there was one card that I did change the artwork on, and I feel a little bit guilty about it. It's the one Pentacle card, and if you go onto CS and you go onto Pam's old deck, you will see the same card is changed. It was the fingernail, the fingernail of the Ace of Pentacles that it was too
Okay.
square for me, so I
Right.
rounded it. I think that was. I
Okay.
think that's it. I've got cards everywhere here, so I'm not going to look. So that's the only change I made to her line work. Yes,
Yeah.
Robin, it was. I just
But
took the crackle back off, and it wasn't only that. I also changed the coloring and the saturation, the intensities of the colors. So it's not just like the identical coloring.
yeah, and I think it's really important to point out as well, because I know this from talking to you, that when you do a deck, it's not just a case of just applying a filter to, because Robin's question says with the filter removed, and I just think
Yeah,
that's really important. You spend hours on each card,
yeah,
doing the detail. It's not just, oh, here's the 78 cards. I'll put a filter on it and send it out there. That would be
yeah.
so easy to do, and
I
lots
wish
of
there was a
people,
filter.
yeah, and lots of people, have done that where they've just applied filters,
Yeah,
and you can see the same kind of pattern emerging on each
yeah,
card, but you don't. I know that when you do a deck, it takes you. It's a long process because you spend hours on them. So, with that in mind, if we move on to the exciting thing that is happening right now, because I know with this has been a labor of love, and again, it's about going in and spending a lot of time on each card. So
yeah.
these beauties. So if anybody saw my video yesterday, I shared the Roses and Lilies, which is the 1909 deck,
I'm very
and
jealous of you, hey? Because
you don't
I don't
even
have
have
all of.
these, do you?
I have the B. I have
You've
the
got the
B.
B. You've got that
You
one.
know the story. I put them on. I realized that these images belong to someone else, and I yanked them off immediately. I didn't even buy them for myself. So
Well,
if you look on my shelf,
let's let's go back then and talk us through that, because I think that's quite, lots of people have asked, because obviously I put a video
yes,
out
yeah,
last August. I think it was last August. Um, well, you talk us through how these decks
yeah.
came to be now on NPC.
When CS Terra was out, I put my email address out. Like my name is Conrad Steyn. I don't hide under. Sorry, that's the wrong word. I don't have another
Use a
name. You're with
pseudonym.
me. Like I am who I am.
It's your
And
name. You don't
I
use a pseudonym.
give people my email address, and it's on my website. And someone emailed me, and they said, "Why don't you rather use Pam A or B for CS Tarot?" Okay, and I said, "Well, I don't have the luxury of, I don't have those sort of luxuries." And they said, "Okay." And then I got an email with a big zip attachment, and it was A, B, C, and D, and the 1909 Roses and Lilies. And I'm like I felt like this was Christmas. I was like blessed. I was like, thank you, Jesus. This is it. And I didn't put it onto CS Tarot. I didn't want to, but my idea was to actually put them onto NPC. So when I say restored, I don't think that's the correct word. I took the images and I didn't restore them. I fixed them up where they needed fixing up, resizing, getting them to the point that I can actually put them on NPC. And I did it because I didn't have them and I wanted them and I wanted everyone else to have them. I think it was Esther from Mindful
Tarot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was speaking about her Pam. She's got a Pam A, I think, and a Pam B, and I was like, I want one too, and not just me. I'm sure there are many people out there who want them, and there are decks out there. If you go onto Etsy, there's just RWS. There's just millions of them. It's ridiculous. So I thought there might be people, and the problem that I wouldn't say the problem I have with those decks, but the thing about those decks is they don't have the original backs. They've got all these other, like you'll get a RWS, like you'll get a Pam A with the back like that, you know. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to try to keep it as original as I possibly could. Put them on there, as you know. I mean, you and I were in constant communication throughout the whole process. I put them on there. I didn't want to put my name on it when I put them out there because there is a bit of gray area, and I wasn't like 100% with regards to copyright issues regarding, you know, what US Games owns and what this person owns and what that person owns. But the idea, the feeling I had was these images that I've got, like these are public domain images, I can use them, so I put them on, and when they were taken off, I was devastated. I was very upset. I was angry. I thought I'd put in all this effort, and I was also a little bit humiliated. I was embarrassed. I felt like, you know, Conrad, why didn't you do your homework properly? You know, why didn't you, you know, find out the source of these things? So from there, I contacted. I think I asked you to contact the owners. Saskia Jensen came forward. Mm-hmm. And she's the owner of the 1909, and the A, B, C, and D is owned by Kenji. She owns that deck. Well, she owns the original scans. She put the scans on. Yeah. So I tried to get hold of Saskia, and I was unable to. And you and I were in contact the whole time. I kept saying I'm not getting a response. I'm not getting a response. So I re-emailed Saskia a couple of months ago, and then she sent me a response, and then also attached the email that she had sent me. So she had attempted to contact me. I was just lost in I just never got the email. So I chatted with Saskia, and she's been very gracious and very helpful and super friendly and just great about the whole thing, and has said by all means go ahead and use the images. So that was her one, the Roses Lillies 1909. Then I spoke to Kenji regarding the A, B, C, and D. And he was also great. He was just super magnanimous. He was like, go ahead, like no problems whatsoever. And I gave him options. I said, if you want to, I'll put them on at NPC's cost price. Like it's not about making money for me. I'll literally do whatever I can to get the decks out there so that people can have them. And he said, no, he's happy for me to put them on. And that's where we are today.
And what is also worth pointing out is these are on at an extremely affordable price. And that was a deliberate intention of yours. So yes. Much so that you've changed the pricing structure for all your decks.
Yeah, they were all sitting on at about, I think my decks were selling at about 34. When I put my decks on a few years ago, they had a selling price of about $25, which I was happy with. And obviously inflation, I know inflation works, I know prices go up, but I wasn't really mindful of it. The next thing I realized these decks are selling for 34. The reason I've actually halved my profit margin on all of them. And the reason for that, I'm paying for everything in Rand here in South Africa. You got to convert everything to US dollars. I know you also have issues with shipping with NPC. If I have to have something shipped from NPC to me, it's going to cost me $50, $60, $70, $80 sometimes. Then when it gets in South Africa, I have to pay import duties. That can be 400, 500, 600 Rand. So like the shipping is ridiculous. So because I'm mindful of the fact that it costs a lot of money, I don't want that to be a deterrent. I want people to still have these decks. So that's why I've dropped the price across board.
So what are they retailing at the moment? Is it $28?
I don't
Is that
know.
right? I
It's
think
about
I
it's in that
think
range. It's in the 28s. It's in that,
yeah.
depending on the inflation rate. It's somewhere. Almost pull my ears out. It's almost about 20. It's about $28. Yeah.
Which is amazing, to think, and this is what I was trying to say in my video yesterday, to think that for what I believe, I don't know your views, but for what I believe is the first time in history that we can get the 1909 as original as it can be for print on demand deck, and that's Saskia's words. She even posted that in a comment on the Hermit's Cave Facebook group this week, that this is the most accurate to her
Yeah.
deck. With the authentic backs. Also, if you want the box options, we'll talk about the boxes in a second.
But yeah, that's obviously
They're-
a lot more with the
yes,
box.
yeah, but it's an option, isn't it? You can buy the cards if you just want the cards, and you can buy a box, which is also a replica of the original box. And then the A, B, C, and D, they're all five at an affordable price. It just blows my mind that this has happened because it's almost like I'm like you. I'll never own a Pam A or a 1909. I am sure. Never say
You're
never.
still young.
But
Don't say
it's
never. Don't say
yeah,
never.
never say
You
never. But
never
it's
know.
highly unlikely. But actually, to have these, and I'm seeing people's excitement. Somebody posted in the Hermit's Cave Facebook group today. They open their box and they've got all five decks in there, and they're like, you
Oh, really?
know,
Wow.
yeah, people are really excited. But the great thing about this is they're not, if somebody printed and they'll say, oh, there's 500 decks available, having them on something like a print on demand service means you can get one a month. They're not
Yeah.
going anywhere. They're not going to sell out. There's not a limited or finite number available.
Yeah.
And I just think, I'm just so pleased it worked out, because to think that we can get these decks and they're as good as or as good as you're going
It's
to
been a
get.
rocky road, as you know, and I mean, we've been in discussion a lot about this, and there were times where I was like, I'm not going to even bother,
Yeah.
and just not even, because I'm not getting anywhere with it. So I did almost give up on the idea, but I persisted,
I know.
and
I know you did.
it's come together. And here
And
we're
for
sitting talking about it now.
for the longest time, it looked like it wasn't going to happen,
Yeah.
And then I remember your excitement a couple of months ago when it all kind of came together. So on the deck is $28.70. If you add on the box, it's 50, which is still brilliant. And in UK money, it's £24. £24 is just like brilliant. It's absolutely it's mind blowing that we can get them. So there's
And
a
I do
question.
want to send out like a big thank you to Kenji. I don't know if I don't know if I'm saying his name right. It's like Ishimutsu, I think. Ishimutsu, something like that.
I think it's Ishimutsu. I don't
But
want to butcher it either.
a big thank you to Kenji. I'm not thanking him for me, but thanking him for on behalf of the tarot community, where we now have these decks available. And also a big, massive thank you to Saskia. Saskia, I don't know if you know, is also a deck creator. Hey, she's created her own deck, the Pippa Tarot deck. So she's a fellow deck creator.
Yeah. And absolutely. Just before we went live, when we was getting things ready, I saw in the comments somebody saying, "Thank you, Saskia, Kenji, and Conrad, for making this happen." And it's an exciting time where we can get these facsimile style decks that are so authentic at an affordable price. Especially in today's world where, things are going through the roof. Especially, I don't know what it's like in South Africa, but over here, everything's soaring. Petrol,
Yeah.
energy bills, food, everything is soaring. So we have to be mindful of our additional purchases and things.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah. So, did you want to say anything else about those decks? We touched on the boxes, didn't we?
Yes, I did. Oh, okay. Regarding the boxes and regarding the differences between the different types of decks, if anyone is interested, to please go to waitesmith.org, and that is a brilliant website. That is where I got the images, not the images, but the inspiration for the boxes that I made. So if you go into waitesmith.org, you'll see the 1909 box that it had. That's why because you might wonder why I made that one and the Pam A so similar. It's because they were similar. Like that's how the boxes looked when they came out. And then and also just to get an idea of the difference, the difference in the printing, the different styles, why they're called different variants. So I would recommend people go onto that. But I also want to just comment on, I looked through the comments from the video you posted last night, and somebody said you should do a comparison between the 1909 art restoration and this one.
Centennial.
And
the Centennial.
Was that also another comment that came through?
Yeah, there's a couple there. There's two people today's asked for a comparison with the Centennial, and then this morning for the art restoration deck as well.
I want to comment on art restoration deck. I think art restoration deck is brilliant, and I think the person who created that should get a lot of credit. They have gone through the process of restoring. I haven't restored.
No,
I haven't. I've taken scans that I got. I've made them sort of print ready. I've added border. I'm saying I like resized. I've corrected them. I haven't gone through a massive process of editing. I want to just give you like one example of a card here, Simon. Where are they now?
When you want them.
When you want them. Page of Pentacles. Like that's how the original scan would have looked. Can you see how the color's missing there?
Yes, on the
guy's scarf.
Headdress.
So yes, I would have added that and corrected it.
Okay, I get you.
You with me? So I didn't go through a lot of changing, and I think the person who did the 1909 art restoration restored it and took it back to how it would have looked in 1909. I think that's admirable, and I think that's fantastic, and I think they should be given a lot of credit for that. I think the reason why mine looks more similar to Saskia's, is because I'm using a scan from a 100-year-old deck. It is 100 years old, so that's why mine looks the same, because it's like a facsimile copy of hers. I don't think that mine is more accurate or better. And in fact, with MPC, it's the luck of the draw sometimes, Simon. Sometimes I'm ecstatically happy with the print quality and the colors, and this. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm like it's too light or it's too yellow. Like sometimes the colors aren't right, which is just the nature of the beast when it comes to print on demand. So I just want to give credit to the person who did the 1909 art restoration. So I think that is a brilliant,
and that's,
version of it.
That's C in London, isn't it?
That's correct. Correct. Yeah. On drive-through cards.
Yeah. Okay. I know. Are you okay for a little bit long on time?
I'm good.
All right?
I'm perfect. Yeah.
Because there's still loads of kind of tarot type questions that I want to ask you. And Tammy Pie says, anybody else going through Conrad's collection? They're obviously zooming in on your collection. With that collection behind you, how has your tarot taste changed over the years, would you say? I know you're very traditional, aren't you, in terms of your taste?
Yes. My tarot taste has not changed much at all. What has changed is my tolerance is the wrong word. I've just become more accepting of other styles of tarot decks. I sometimes struggle where I feel like a deck is meant to be something. Like you get, I'm so scared I'm going to say the wrong thing and offend somebody here.
You won't. It's fine.
You don't know what I'm going to say.
You're amongst friends.
Like I feel like let's say, okay, here's a perfect example. Let's say a deck is brought out and it's deliberately inclusive and representative of every age, color, language orientation. You with me? It's deliberately inclusive. Sometimes sometimes like these more modern decks, I struggle with that because I feel like you're confusing the expression of it with the true purpose of it. And what I've come to understand is that there is place for those, and they're vital and they are important. And I'm an RWS guy through and through. I also use my Thoth deck, and I say Thoth like moth, even though I know it's supposed to be Thoth like oath. I just like to say it that way. And when I read with that, I will just read intuitively. I won't focus on the meanings of the cards. Yeah. So what has changed is me seeing all the decks that are available, and it's becoming like, I remember going onto eBay and there were like 10,000 decks of cards on eBay. Now there's probably 100,000 decks. Like tarot is growing like crazy, and there's place for that, and there's place for the different varieties and the different types. So I've become more accepting. Yeah. If I can say that. Yeah, if I can say that.
I totally get what you're saying. I got a text message this morning. In fact, my phone's over there, so I can't remember what it was. But I think, it was the tequila tarot. And this he won't mind me saying, is in the chat. And I was like, oh my God. And I commented back saying, there's literally a tarot for everything. This is a tequila tarot, and each card gave you a recipe. And I'm like, okay, is this bubble going to burst? And I think at first, I wanted a dog tarot, I wanted a cat tarot, I wanted a Golden Girls tarot. And I think I've got to the point where I'm even like, the decks that I've got around me, I've got my soul cards, which I've made into a tarot. I've got my Hermit's Hybrid Tarot, which is also one of yours. I've got my RWS, I've got my 1JJ Swiss Vintage. I've got my traditional deck, and it's what I always go back to, you know. And I think it's great if, there's people who like, gosh, I don't know, pandas, and there's a panda tarot. Absolutely fine. I haven't got an issue with it. But for me, I think I've almost come full circle, and I'm back now to the traditional decks that are the staples for me.
I think the thing for me is the additional images put me off. Like they're genuine. And I've just got some examples. I thought you might ask me a similar question to this. Like, I have a problem with decks. This is one of my favorite decks. This Psychic Tarot by John Holland. One of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But I have a problem. When I see that, I see Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
What's the lady in the Titanic? What's her name?
Kate Winslet.
No, the singer.
Oh, Celine Dion. Show the card again. It had a glare. Oh yes, Celine Dion. Yeah.
And I struggle with that because then I see that. Lightseer's Tarot. I'm a big fan. The problem I have here, there's a Volkswagen microbus in the bottom corner here, an old VW. Okay. And I had a girlfriend in high school whose mom had a Volkswagen microbus. So every time I see this card, I go back to that instead of focusing on Two of Wands. And so I do, and it's not a problem with these cards. I love these cards. Like, I just struggle with the plethora of these additional images that sort of have to permeate through my brain before getting to where it needs to go. So
yeah. And Emma's made a good point. But RWS has John Travolta in the Nine of Cups. And I suppose once somebody says that, then you see it, don't you? But significant
the guy sitting like this.
Yeah,
is that John?
John Travolta. Latter day John Travolta. Next time you get the Nine of Cups, I won't even look
at it.
Once you've seen it. There's one, I can't remember what deck it is, that Becca's mentioned it a few times on their channel, where Prince Harry is in the deck. And now, what is the deck? Every time I see it, I'm like, why did you say that? Because I just see Prince Harry, but I
Yeah.
can't remember the deck now.
Like the Game of Thrones deck. I also took this out. What's this lady's name? I don't know her name. Oh no, sorry.
You're asking the wrong person for Game of Thrones.
Okay, but the same character is in like 4-5 different cards, right? So then, how do I? That doesn't make sense to me. Like I can't have, like, imagine having the Fool in like 5 different cards, or having the Queen of Wands in 5 or 6 different cards. It's like different characters. Anyway, that's just me being petty. And I can be very petty. What I do love, Simon, is when you do have these different images, it forces you to see things from a different perspective. And I've got this card here as an example, the Wheel of Fortune. This is from Pagan Otherworlds, eh?
Mm-hmm. Which I just spotted on your top shelf.
Yeah, it's there. I'm gonna focus in real close here, okay? If you look at that deer or antelope, whatever it is, okay, it looks like it's part of the rock. Like if you had it colored in the same color as the rock, it looks like it'll be part of the. Looks like they've sort of added horns and a little leg to the rock to make it an animal. And that's a completely different feeling that I get when I see the Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune tells me that everything's moving, everything's changing. There's this constant movement. But when I see that image, it's like there are some things that aren't going to change. There are some things that are almost set in stone. So I love looking at decks. I love looking at new images because like I can see the same card from a different perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Do you believe in the concept of a soul deck? And if so, do you have one?
What do you mean? What do you mean by a soul deck?
So that one deck that you would never give up, that one deck that is your ride or die, that one deck that you just feel gets you and you get it, it's part of who you are, an extension of yourself.
Yes. Terror of the Spirits.
I don't know if I know that.
I have it here. That's the US. So I'm very like I feel like I've got like I'm on like throwing things around here all the time, showing you decks.
That's great.
Terror of the Spirit. This is my absolute all time.
Oh, I have seen
what do you call it? Soul deck.
Yeah.
I've got the older version, which looks like that, and I've trimmed the deck, so now it looks like that. I trimmed this by hand, by the way, so it looks terrible. I didn't do a very good job. But this deck just it moves me. I resonate with the images. It's two creators. I think it's Pamela Eakins and Joyce Eakins. I think it's you'll find it on the box, I suppose. And it's a mother and daughter combo. And the one is the artist, and the other one's the author of the book. The book is also like a Bible. It's like a a hectic type of directory. So I mean, I've used it so much. I've had to put a new cover on in leather. So that is to me like a from what I understand, you mean by a soul deck. It should be that one. That is it's personal. Like I'll never read for a client with this deck. This is just for Conrad. This is just for me.
So, is it still in print?
This one is. I'm sure that's a US Games deck, and I don't like this version. I prefer the older version. I've seen them on eBay. The price has gone up now that they're not available anymore. But this is definitely. I'm pretty sure it's still available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, I did a tag years ago, which was my soul deck, and I ended up buying everybody's soul deck. Every time somebody did a response, it said, "This is my soul deck." That's how I ended up with Japaridze. That's how I ended up with the Gaian Tarot.
Yeah, I got two of those.
Yeah, and so when somebody says, "This is my absolute soul deck," I'm like, I need to find out why. So I may have to look into that. As soon as you showed it, I recognised the cover, even though I didn't recognise the name of it. But can you articulate why it's such an important deck to you, or is it just
I think it's I think it's the first deck that I used that wasn't RWS, and another. I chopped the borders off. Okay. Which means the cards didn't mean much to me without the borders. I cut them off prematurely. Okay. What I've done subsequently, I've written in. Some of the cards are recognizable, obviously, Devil, etc. Three of Cups, Judgment. Some of them are recognizable, but some of them aren't. And it forced me to look further, and it forced me to go beyond beyond my preconceived ideas. That's the best way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And the unicorn deck, have you heard of that concept where a deck that you would love, but you just feel that it's so hard to get hold of? It's top of your wish list. It's your absolute want.
I've had a few unicorns, and I've got them. The one deck I've also figured this question was coming up. This was the one deck that I lusted after, Hexen 2.0. Okay,
Oh,
and
okay.
I found one. I actually got this in at a bookshop in Rome, I think. That's where I got this from. And then the Magical Tarot was also I wanted it for years and years and years, and I saw them on eBay, and they were always too expensive. I eventually went and bought one. But what I did in a true Conrad fashion is I scanned the images in and made an antique version of it for myself. So, and it's not on NPC for sale. It's not. I just did it for myself. So I have my own version of it. And again, and I've done a lot of decks on NPC, Simon. And one of the main reasons I started doing them was that I can use the deck. Like I think, you know about Noir, hey? We've spoken about this before. Terra Noir, also a deck that I loved. The cards were like ginormous, like non-human couldn't use them. So I put it onto NPC, changed it a bit, not for sale, but just put it on for myself, so that I have a usable deck. Those are the two unicorns. If there's one more deck that I would want now, it would be Goliath Tarot.
Oh, okay.
First edition.
Ooh.
And
I
am. Yeah.
I was going to have to see if we can perhaps sort something out. I've got first and second edition.
You can make a plan. Someone has offered me their first edition, and I would like to take them up on that offer, because I also want my Patrick Valenza Chion Fidela Luna illustrated, which hasn't. I think I told you this. I've been waiting 5 months now. Hasn't arrived.
Yeah.
Bought it off of Etsy. So they're also going to sell me. They bought 3, and they're going to sell me one of theirs. So I'll also add that to my. So those are my 2 ones that I'm wanting right now.
Yeah. Do you, other than just your use of tarot, do you class yourself as a spiritual person? Do you define yourself as having a spiritual practice?
Yes.
Okay. Does it have a
title?
I just wonder. No. Some people say I'm a spiritual person, but I don't identify as pagan, Christian, Jewish, or they just say I'm a spiritual. I wondered if you kind of identified as a particular following a path.
I had a very strong Christian upbringing, and I think that never goes away. Like a lot of my thinking, I still feel, is based in that Christian ethos. But for me, I do have my own path. This says that my battery is low, Simon. I wonder how many minutes I got here. Let me check. As you know, we were rushing with this laptop. Can you put me on pause for 30 seconds while I grab a charger?
I can take you out, and I'll ask people for questions. Is that all right?
30 seconds. I'm going to grab a charger.
Yeah, I'll bring you back in. Okay, so whilst Conrad's gone to get his charger, if you have questions, because I am coming towards the end, I've just got about 4 more questions that I want to put towards Conrad. If you've got some, do drop them into the chat, and I will make sure that they get asked. And it can be about anything that we've discussed. It could be about his decks or anything like that. So, and thank you for everybody who has bared with us as well through the technical difficulties. I can't work it out. Why me putting AirPods in made this work when Conrad went out and he was all like, "We can hear you fine." Modern technology and all that. Conrad's back in the room, so I think he's just connecting his earphones, so we'll bring him back in. But yeah, if you've got questions, thank you, Ramon. Loved it all. That's good. Okay, let's see. Give me a thumbs up, Conrad, if you're ready. Great. Yeah. So I'll carry on then, and if people have got questions, then I will ask them as well. So so
Spiritual.
did you finish that bit off about
No.
you said about being a Christian and that really never leaves you, didn't you?
Yeah, I moved away from the church when I came out. I didn't want to move away from the church. One of the things that's like a book that impacted me on a crazy level, and probably people might not understand the connection. Graham Hancock, Fingerprints of the Gods. I read it in '94. I don't know if you know the book. He speaks about the Egyptian pyramids and the Giza and the sphinxes and the pharaohs and all these the Mayan cultures, and he speaks about all these. It's like a. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that book, Fingerprints of the Gods. And what that book did for me when I read it in '94 was it opened my mind, because in my mind, Adam and Eve go back, say, 3,000, 4,000 BC. And here he's speaking about like geographic evidence of the pyramids being around 10,000 BC. Just like little things like it. And I was like, what? Like, are you telling me there's more to what's going on? So that was a very big eye opener for me. And it made me not abandon Christianity, but just realize that there's more. There's other stuff out there.
Yeah.
Where I am right now, and this is like a very big conversation. But where I am right now, meditation is a big part of my spiritual practice, and it isn't something that I do. Like, the emphasis isn't on what I do. For me, the emphasis is on what I don't do. I try focus on not focusing. I try sort of decentrate, like sort of try think things that aren't in words, where I'm feeling an emotion and I'm not putting a word to it. So my current spiritual practice is me spending time in meditation, realizing the divinity that is inside of me, and the divinity that is inside of everyone. I know that different people have different deities who they work with, different gods, different structures, different systems. The way I see it is we all on this bus together. And if you're sitting in chair 2B and you want to call your bus driver Krishna, and this one wants to call him Christ, and this, like, to me, it doesn't actually matter, because you're all going in the same direction anyway. And if I call the moon one word because I speak English, it's my home language, and somebody else calls it something else because they grew up in a different part of the world, we're both referring to the same. We're both pointing to that same ball in the sky. So.
Perfectly put.
Yeah,
absolutely. And sometimes it's all down to geography. It's all down to where you're born in the world, what kind of religion you're going to be indoctrinated into. Yes, we can find our own paths later in life, but a lot of people who are born into religion stay in that religion, and that's just down to where they've been born. So you're absolutely right. I believe in a supreme, I don't even know if that's a being, but a supreme, something greater than me, and we all come to that on our own, seat on the bus, if you like, as you described it. But in essence, it's the divine energy, it's the divine source that's within all of us. Yeah, so that was a great way to put it.
And I do feel like there's one mind and there's one soul and there's one body, and we're all parts of that. We're all like expressions of that same, of the one. We're all parts of the whole.
Yeah. And this is my ignorance, and I am ignorant in this, I suppose, but is the Christian church in South Africa different, do you know, than perhaps what it might be over here? Because I know that,
I don't think it's that
would be different. Okay.
No, I don't think it's that different, because I was involved in church growing up, and then when I went to America, I went to some churches there.
Okay.
A couple of Baptist churches, and I saw like much of the same.
Yeah.
The church that my parents came from was a very, very strict, very fundamentalist. Like I remember my mom telling me when they were kids, you weren't allowed to drink Coke out of a Coke bottle because the Coke bottle was
Okay.
shaped like a woman's body.
Oh,
Boys and girls had
wow.
to swim in different, like boys and girls couldn't swim together. There was no music. You had to wear a collar and tie. It was like a very strict conservative. My grandfather was actually a minister in that religion, in that denomination. So, that same denomination is in America, and I'm assuming all over.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We've got some questions coming in. So Yasmin says, what is your process in reading tarot? Meaning, what is your setup and how do you read? Do you do
Depends
morning
on
and
the person.
evening or?
For me or for
Yeah.
clients?
I'm assuming, Yasmin, and correct me if not, but I think your process for reading cards, if you're reading cards for yourself, do you do
I
spreads
won't.
or?
Yeah, I won't read cards to myself. Just like randomly pick a card a day or do a spread a day. I don't do that at all.
Right.
I consult tarot more as a oracle. If I need assistance with something, I know that people do use tarot on a daily basis as a form of development. But that's not what it is for me. If I'm dealing with a client, so I'm going to show this to you. This is a spread that I came up with, and that's the spread that I'll use
Wow.
for clients. It's basically it's one that I've sort of figured out over the years. I like using that same spread for clients, and I use that spread to calibrate a deck of cards. Does that make sense to you, Simon?
Mm-hmm.
To me, not every deck of cards is equally accurate. Does that make sense? Like if
Go
I
on.
get a new pendulum, if
I
I
got
get
the
a new pendulum,
calibrating it. Yeah. Go on then.
if I get a new pendulum, I'll have to. The pendulum must be right. I won't just
Works
use
for
any.
you.
I'll have to get it. Okay. So for me, for this piece of rock, this is my yes or no. And
Yeah.
I feel tarot is like it. So not all tarot decks I feel I have the same connection with. The reason I keep going back to this one is it's accurate for me. Another deck that I use, and you can't always choose who you love, eh? This is a deck I read with. Don't like it.
I was going
Don't
to
like the
say,
backs.
because the
Don't
interesting thing
like.
with that, the interesting thing with that then is if you've got that deck that reads for you, my next
Yes.
question would be, do you have decks that you just cannot read? Or do you do the calibration thing and then you can?
I have decks that I haven't read with.
Okay.
Like I have decks that I've purchased that I haven't read with. I can appreciate the artwork. I don't. Like I watch a lot of people on YouTube and they're like, well, this week they're working with that deck and they're reading with that deck and they were doing readings of this. I'm like, I don't do that. Like I'm very, very limited to the decks that I do read with. I suppose I could read with any deck, but I don't get the results. And the way I like to calibrate a deck is when I do a spread, I see what's happening now and what's happened in the past. So I'll ask a client, and so I'll tell them that, this is what happened, in your recent past in your home environment, or this happened in your work environment, etc. And I feel like if you get like tick tick tick, like it's accurate, like it's bang on accurate for what you already know and what you've already been through, then it's going to be accurate for moving forward. That's my way of sort of calibrating it. And sometimes I use the images, sometimes I don't. I literally sometimes I'm just putting cards down and I'm not even focusing on the images. If it's a reading like that, I'll use a Marseille deck. But yeah, that's how I read.
Brilliant. Tara Joe says, do you have a favorite Mabon deck? I suppose the question before you can answer that is, do you recognize Sabbats and do you no? Okay. And then we've got Conrad, as someone raised Christian, did you struggle with the notion of tarot as a sin? I think you kind of answered that, didn't you? You said about you saw tarot as being evil because
I don't. Yeah.
initially.
But that's when I was a little child.
Yeah.
I don't see it that way now. When I was very involved in Christian, what's weird, Simon, is I'm looking at you on my monitor, which is like there, but I should actually be looking at, like, I feel like I'm talking to you, like I'm looking at your face. You know what? I should
I
be
haven't
looking over here.
I haven't noticed that you're not looking at me.
Um, do I feel it's a sin? No, no. I when I was involved in Christianity, and I use this word very lightly, and it has been used very loosely by many people. I felt like I would have prophetic words for people, and I feel like that is now continued over into my tarot practice, where I still get words for people. And I think you were in a chat, Simon, and I don't do chats, as you know. But this was a couple of years ago, and I asked somebody on the chat, does anyone in this chat have premonitions in their dreams? And that's happened to me before. Like, if I have a tarot client tomorrow, I'll have a dream about them tonight. And not always, but sometimes, like, a person will walk into my office, I'll be like, and I'll know everything, just because I've gone through it, and I'll recognize them straight away. Like, you're the person in my dream. But sometimes I get nothing. Sometimes I need tarot. Sometimes I need to, like, give an actual intellectual an intellectual explanation of what the cards mean. And sometimes my intuition's dry. Seriously, sometimes I'll do a spread and I'll look out and I'll think, let me just go herd goats rather, or
I think we've all experienced that. Yeah.
Be a potter or something.
Yeah. If we're honest, I think we've all looked at the cards sometimes and just gone, haven't we? Where you just. I know I have, and I'm sure we're not the only one. Olympia goes on to say, as a Latin American Catholic, they did at first.
Yeah.
Interesting. There is a theory, if you look on YouTube, that John Travolta has appeared through lots of different ages. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Him and Nicolas Cage keep appearing in old
I just think he
photographs
has
of
that
hundreds
kind.
of years
He just has that face. I think it's just the structure of his face.
Yeah, but so maybe Pixie did meet him and make him the Nine of Cups. Yeah, I'm just seeing if there's any other questions before I finish mine, but my scroller is going the wrong way. What's your favourite Marseille deck? Says Calla Lizzie.
I would say the Arnaud deck.
The Arnaud?
Or the Arnaud, the one that I have on NPC.
Yeah.
Which I have here somewhere. This one. And again,
the colours
Simon,
are beautiful on that.
Okay, you say that, but on my computer screen, it was a lot more vibrant. It was a lot more vibrant.
I like the muted, the yellow, the green and the reds together in that muted tone.
I do. I also do like it, but I'm saying it wasn't what I had in mind, and I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I don't have the. Oh no, I don't have it. Okay, so if you could go back to your 16-year-old self, knowing everything that you know now.
I knew this question was coming.
That's because I asked the same questions, because I love hearing people's responses. What conversation would you have? What would you say to your 16-year-old self?
I would say, when it hits 2010, go onto the internet and look for something called Bitcoin. Buy as much Bitcoin as you possibly can, and when you hit mid 2021, you'll be sorted. I think I would tell myself, don't be scared. I would tell myself, it's okay to be who you are. I would tell myself, stop trying to please other people by being somebody who you're not. And I would tell myself, when you go with your buddy to the Brass Monkey to listen to Eminent Child play and you get offered a Camel cigarettes, do not take a drag, because you will smoke for 20 years after that. That's what I would tell my 16-year-old self.
That's really frank and honest. I get lots of responses, but that's a really frank and honest one. But I had to smile at the bit. Did you ever see the film Frequency? It's got Dennis Quaid in it, where he goes on a CB radio and he connects to his dead father from the past over the frequency.
No, I haven't.
It's a brilliant film, but in that he gives him some advice. He says, if you ever hear of something called Yahoo, put money behind it. And he does, and he's like really rich as the film comes to an end.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite quote?
Yes, I do.
Would you share it?
Should you be able to quote a quote, or can I read it? Because it's too long for my silly brain to remember.
Absolutely read it.
This is my favorite quote. Okay. And my handwriting is just terrible.
That's a quote.
Here we go. Okay. Meditation is the discovery that part of life is always arrived at in the immediate moment. And therefore, if you meditate for an ulterior motive, that is to say, to improve your mind, or to improve your character, or to be more efficient in your life, you've got your eye on the future and you are not meditating, because the future is a concept. It doesn't exist. And as the proverb says, tomorrow never comes. There is no such thing as tomorrow. There will never be, because time is always now. And that's one of the things we discover when we stop talking to ourselves, stop thinking. We find there is only the present and ever eternal now. That's by Ellen Watts.
Brilliant.
Love it.
Perfect. Time is always now. Perfect. Your dinner party, Conrad. 1 guest of honor and 2 guests, dead or alive. Who are you going to invite?
I had an idea in my mind of who I was going to say, but I don't want it to come across the wrong way. I would like to, the one person I'd like to have dinner with is the 65-year-old version of myself. And then ask them, what have you learned in the last 15 years? So, because I wish I could go back and tell 10-year-old Conrad a whole bunch of stuff, you know? I wish I could actually, one of the people would be the future version of myself. The other person would be the 10-year-old version of myself to tell them what I know now. I would definitely do that. And the other person is just somebody who I very recently found out about online, and I'm sure he's in the tarot community. He's got a brilliant deck out. The deck creates a Goliath. Because I've listened to a lot of his videos, and I like the way he explains things. I like the way he sees the world, and I feel like we've had similar experiences. And that's the sort of person who I'd love to have a cup of coffee with or a beer with and just chat.
Yeah, brilliant.
3.
I really like that. Nobody's ever said that. My future self as a dinner guest. You're a clever man. What would you say the tarot has taught you most about yourself?
I think tarot shows me things that I maybe know are there, but don't want to admit. Tarot shows me elements of, like people talk about the shadow.
It shines a light on something you don't want.
It shines a light on something that you maybe don't want to look at, but you're forced to look at because you just see the image in front of you, and you're like, okay, what is this telling me about myself? What is this? Like, what is this image? And I believe the images are psychoactive. I believe they do sort of spark off things inside your psyche. So I think that's the main thing. That it's shown me parts of myself that I sometimes don't want to admit is there.
Yeah, I get that.
Short and sweet.
For me, it's when you pull a card and you almost think, oh no, I'm going to pull another. That's when you're like, oh, hold on a minute.
I slide them so I don't see them. I hide them, and then I pull another one. Can I ask you a question?
You can.
Are you scared? What is your biggest regret with regards to a deck modification?
Biggest regret
with regards to deck modification?
It's fine now.
Yeah.
Because I got this beautiful version, but when I modified the Gaian Tarot, there is one card in there where the border is off, and I just thought they would all be the same size. So I lobbed off a part of the image and had a white line down one side, and it just ruined the deck. And I just I can't use this deck because it was so. But then I was gifted this Llewellyn version of the Gaian Tarot, and all is well with the universe now.
Good.
When I trimmed my first copy of Everyday Enchantment by Poppy Palin, I tried to use the same colour border all the way around, but then I didn't realise that the bottoms still had the border on and I needed them. So at the bottom they all look black, and then they all look lovely around the outside. That was a mistake because I hadn't thought it through. But you live and learn, don't you? You make the mistakes and you live and learn.
I don't think I'll modify any decks ever again. I've ruined so many decks.
Have you?
Yes, like on my Robert M. Place first edition Alchemical Tarot has massive, massive borders, and I cut them off, and now they're teeny. Like it's a teeny, teeny little deck. That's a big regret.
What deck's that? Sorry.
Robert M. Place Alchemical Tarot first edition.
Oh, first edition.
First edition. The book hadn't even been opened. The box it was like a brand new deck, and I hacked it. I hacked it up. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I've stopped. If I ever cut a border off, and I don't know if anyone else in the chat is, I don't know if are people still there, Simon? You know that I can't see the chat. You know that.
There's 82 people here.
If anyone wants to cut the border off a deck, they must have it laser cut.
Yeah. My first ever trim job, because I didn't do it, was the Marielle, and I had it professionally
laser
done.
cut.
Yeah. It's
like
amazing, isn't it?
A factory finish. So that's the only thing I would recommend. Yeah.
And it cost me something ridiculous, like £5. That's all it was. I took it to a printer's and they laser cut the Marielle, and it's just like that's how it was always been. My final question for you before we do paper plastic, if you don't mind doing paper and plastic, is what's next? Because I know you, and there's always something next. I want an exclusive.
next in terms of a tarot deck.
Yeah, or any future plan. What are you planning?
I would like to create a tarot deck.
From scratch?
Yes, I don't consider myself a deck creator in terms of people like Patrick Valenza or Goliath, or just about every person whose deck I have behind me. What I've done, I've taken images and I've sort of manipulated them. I'd love to sit with a pen and paper or sit on Photoshop or whatever it is and just like create it myself from the original idea to the completed product. That's what I would love to do. Is that what I'm doing next? Probably not, but it's what I'd like to do. What I am doing is working on a cement statue in my garden of a gargoyle. I couldn't find one online, so actually I could, but they were like these little.
You told me about this. Yeah.
Like that sort of size, which is not good enough. I want something that's
just hold it up again. What made you? Bigger.
Oh, sorry. I know I've been doing it real quick.
Oh, it's cute though. It's
great. I don't want that though. I don't want that. What I want is something like, 30, 40 centimeters. With concrete. I'm building out of concrete, and it's going to go on the corner at my house at the entrance. It's going to go on the corner there. So that's also a current project. My business keeps me very busy, which is why I don't do readings anymore. But I don't want to speak about that. My practice also has gone down just because the business is so busy. But in terms of my practice, I am working on a PhD. It's been on the back burner for so long; it's actually shocking. In fact, today I was actually reading through some of it to think the way I used to think, to go through some of the thoughts I used to have. So that's pretty much it, eh?
Yeah, that's enough to be getting on with.
Maybe go for a haircut tomorrow.
All right. Are you familiar with paper and plastic?
Go ahead. No.
So I just give you two things, and you just tell me the first thing that comes into your head. Okay. Some are tarot
Okay.
related, some aren't. There's nothing personal. So, paper or plastic?
Paper.
Oracle or tarot?
Tarot.
YouTube or Instagram?
YouTube.
Peanut butter or jam?
Peanut butter.
Big parties or small gatherings?
Big parties and small gatherings. Big parties that become small gatherings when everyone else leaves. Yes.
Wait or Crowley?
Obviously, wait.
Bath or shower?
Depends on the time of the day. If it's morning, shower. Evening, bath.
Bordered or borderless?
Boarded.
Dark and creepy or rainbows and unicorns?
Can't you give me an option 3?
What's
Somewhere in
option-
between.
what's-
Somewhere in between. I'd be more on the side of rainbows and unicorns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Indie or mass?
Indie.
Tablet or PC?
PC.
Save or spend?
Oh, I'm terrible. Spend.
Money or free time?
I have both. Doesn't the one get
good.
you the other? Doesn't the one buy you the
But
other?
which would you
I
rather
think
have?
free. I think if I had one or the other, free time.
Okay.
Because I don't have a lot of money, so I'm used to free time. Yeah,
Movies at home or in the cinema?
definitely at home.
Large or small cards?
I like small cards.
Life after death or total extinction?
Life after death.
Early bird or night owl?
Man, why can't I have both? I'm both. I have an afternoon nap at 3 o'clock.
You have
Almost.
siesta.
I'm an old man. I wake up early in the morning. I have a nap, and then I go late night. So I'm good for both.
Fab. Woodland forest or sandy beaches?
Forests.
And toilet roll hanging over or under?
I knew this question. There is only one way, Simon. It only goes over. And luckily in my house, the roll goes on. I know what your thing is, but luckily in my house, they go on very easily. So it's easy for me just to change it. And I promise you, it gets changed throughout the day.
Poor Yasmin is about 5 minutes behind because all her things that she's responded to are things we talked about 5 minutes. So we're going to be gone. Yasmin's going to still be posting comments and then she'll see this. But anyway, Conrad, thank you for being my guest today. We've had 2 hours, but technically with those first 20 minutes, I'll find a way to kind of either edit the video or put a please start watching at timestamp. Thank you for being with me. Do stay on. I'll just have a quick catch up with you at the end.
Okay.
Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for your questions for Conrad. I've appreciated them, and it's been lovely to have so many people here supporting. So thank you for your time. I'll be back no doubt in the week. I've still got 3 decks to do walkthroughs of. So yeah, thank you for being here. Anything you want to say, Conrad, before we go?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. Sorry it's taken me so long to get the courage to come on and discuss this with you, discuss everything
That's
with you.
all right.
And it's been great being here. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, take care. And until next time, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.